Hash Rate is sponsored by Ledger. With the announcement of Ledger Flex and Ledger Stacks, Ledger gives you the best security on the planet for your crypto and identity. Ledger Flex and Stacks drive an e-ink screen with the same secure chip that's in your credit card and passport, except instead of protecting the secrets of banks and governments, Ledger protects your secrets and your private keys. Ledger supports Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, and more than 200 other tokens. The secure touchscreen, plus the Ledger Live app, means that whether you're buying your very first Bitcoin or doing your 2000th swap, you can do it securely and easily with your Ledger. And as always, use my link, shop.ledger.com/hashrate in the show notes to get the very best price whenever you buy a Ledger Flex or Stacks. Opnet is the ultimate solution for deploying smart contracts directly onto the Bitcoin blockchain, leveraging its security and stability. As a meta protocol, Opnet allows you to run Ethereum-style smart contracts on any UTXO-based blockchain, including Bitcoin and Fractal Bitcoin. With Opnet, there's no need to rewrite your existing smart contracts from scratch. Simply deploy them on Opnet, and you're live on Bitcoin or Fractal with no modifications required. Start your journey on Opnet today by visiting opnet.org. Hello, everybody, and welcome to yet another Hash Rate. My name is Mark Jeffrey. My guest today is Xiaohui Lou of sCrypt. Hello, Xiaohui. How are you doing?
Very good, very good. Beautiful.
And now, did I pronounce that correctly? Is it, and I mean sCrypt, is it sCrypt or is it sCrypt? Oh, it's sCrypt. Okay. Yeah. So, all right, off to a good start. Right, so, sCrypt it is. My apologies. So you were recently. So let's talk about Token 2049 for a second, because you were just out there, right?
Yeah.
What was the energy like? It looked like the stuff surrounding CAT20 and your stuff in particular was super exciting. How you guys had like a meetup or something, right?
Yeah, we were there, and a bunch of people, invite me. Hey, you should come here to talk about, Opcat and CAT protocol. Yeah. I mean, only 16-hour flight, so let's go. So, there, is I didn't go to the main event, to be honest. I don't even know where it was. So I'm mostly in the side events. So, we were there talking about the CAT, and then we just came out with this idea out of nowhere. Just say, hey, maybe we should get a meetup to see if there's any people showed up. So we literally booked the venue like maybe 12 hours before the event, and then we just post a link on Twitter, and then I think the next day, like 60 people, or I don't know, 70 people just showed up. I think it was much bigger crowd than I expected. So
wow, because from what I was watching this from far away, and I've been to the main event, and it looked like yet another crypto event, where blah blah blah, who cares? But your little meetup, like, it's so funny. You didn't even attend the main event, but your little meetup appears to have been the seminal event that maybe people will look back in time on and be like, that was where all the alpha was. That was the place to be. Sort of like when Vitalik announced Ethereum on stage in Miami at Bitcoin, North American Bitcoin conference. That was like a moment, right? So I watched from afar your meetup and all the videos from it, and it felt to me like this might be one of those seminal moments that we look back on in history and go, oh wow, this was the beginning of that boom, right? So
yeah,
it felt like that to you too, right? Like,
of course, I went to some other event, but it's mostly like what you just said. I mean, it feels a little bit, corporate. People have big stages. It's all very professional. People, wear dresses. I don't know. I'm like, wearing shorts and t-shirt, and people just showed up. And then, I think really people are just interested in the technology and push the boundary, so-called what Bitcoin, especially with Opcat, can do. I think a lot of people that are really interested in there. I think some people, they talk about a little bit about, price, but mostly we talk about, what kind of things people, can build with this kind of a new tech. I think kudos to all the people who showed up. It's like, this is very, very new, and this is true frontier. Nobody knows where this is going. So I think the energy is just it's very, let's say, builder friendly and less about speculation. People are just excited about what the potential can be. I think, I'm really, really excited what, comes out of this. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk about exactly what sCrypt is. So, Fractal Bitcoin launched recently, and that is meant to be a scaling mechanism for Bitcoin proper, but also to add some additional functionality to the main Bitcoin chain by enabling a command called Opcat. And Opcat theoretically makes Turing complete smart contracts possible on Bitcoin or a fractal Bitcoin copy chain for the very first time. Well, not the first time, because other chains have enabled Opcat, but for the first, it's the first time in modern times, I guess, that it's been enabled on probably a big project like Fractal is, backed by Binance and Unisat and all those folks. So, but Opcat's pretty hard to work with. It's sort of like programming an assembler, right? Writing that stuff directly. So you've created another layer on top of Opcat and the regular Bitcoin script language that makes it possible for people to write smart contracts using a higher level language, which represents, I think, TypeScript. Is that correct?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So first of all, how long have you been working on this? How did you just happen to have this ready to go at Fractal launch? Like, that feels like, did you know this was coming, or have you been working on this for years and you just got lucky? Like, how did that happen?
Yeah, it's like all this like so-called overnight success. I mean, always, looks like it's like one night thing, but we have been working on this, I think, since 2018, by the way.
So, oh, wow. So yeah, you really have been working on this a while.
Yeah, it's been, it's like one of these moments, you always have this kind of I wouldn't call it vision, but you always have, let's say, some foresight to what's coming. You believe in some technology, you invest a lot of time and energy into this. This Opcat thing, it feels like, I don't know about you, but I'm almost like a nerd myself. So I'm always interested in, math, computers, and then, you feel it's sometimes you're just interested in something, which is very, let's say, esoteric. You don't even know whether it's practical or going to be used someday. You just think it's just something cool. It's almost like the cryptography, even before Bitcoin, all this zero knowledge, elliptic curve. It feels like it's never going to see the light of the day. It's never good. It's just something cool kids play with mathematically. But same thing for the opcode, it's more specifically to Opcat. So when as we first get into the space, we just look at the whole, let's call it general Bitcoin space. You have a BTC, you have, Bitcoin Cash back then. And then you can see the difference here. One is like, hey, we should just mostly buy this coin and then hodl and then, get rich one day. The other one is more like developer friendly. Hey, we have bigger op return. We have some more opcodes like Opcat. So, hey, let's maybe, in addition to store value, maybe build some cool thing on top of it. Back in good old days, there's on BTC, there's even some apps. For example, I remember the first one I ever played, Satoshi Dice. I don't know how many people heard about this. At one point, it was like half of all the transaction volume just for this simple betting game.
That was Eric Voorhees, right? That was his thing?
Yeah, before the shift thing. Yeah, it was, I could see that's a demand. People just, want to do things on, not just holding on top of Bitcoin. I think that's always a demand. So I'm a developer myself, so I want to build something, enables other people to build on top of it. For example, they want to do, Satoshi Dice, or they want to do tokens, or even want to, one day do smart contract, because back then, that's opcodes are re-enabled. But then, as what you just said, the opcodes, they're pretty much like assembly, code. I mean, in theory, you can code with it, but in practice, it's never going to happen. It's like you are going to Ethereum and you play with the EVM opcode. I mean, they also have opcode, op-add, op-mal, but in practice, most people, all the people I know play with, Solidity or even, Viper, some high level. So I look in that space and think, hey, in Bitcoin space, there's no such equivalent. So that's what sCrypt is all about. Just go out there and make the developer experience super, friendly, easier to program, easier to deploy, easier to, debug everything. Yeah. So, that come back to a little bit of Opcat. I think when we first started, we didn't expect, let's say BTC one day will talk about, re-enabling some of the old opcodes disabled by, Satoshi himself. So we just started with some other, let's say Bitcoin forks that already have this enabled. So we have been practicing this, literally since maybe we are the first, if not the first. It's just we played Opcat. When we played with it, nobody has heard about it. So it was really surprising. It's always like, you are into some kind of very, maybe like obscure thing, and then somehow, like nowadays everybody wants to play.
Somehow it's center stage. Yeah. I mean, it must have been, but the inverse happened to you initially, right? So you started this in 2018. You're working real hard on it for a couple of years. Writing a language is not an easy thing, right? So because the languages, writing compilers and languages, that's difficult stuff. So you're busting your ass on this thing. And then all of a sudden DeFi summer hits on Ethereum in 2021. Mm-hmm. You must have just been looking at that like, oh my God, did I bet on the wrong horse? Am I insane? Like, what did that feel like? That must have been like, that must have not felt good, right?
Yeah, to be honest, I think, I could have bought the Ethereum bags. But for me, I think when I first got into the crypto space in 2016, 17, that's when the ICO boom. At the beginning, I caught the hype. I think this is the, so-called the future of finance or, blockchain 2.0. I got into the Ethereum. But as soon as I start building things, I just feel something's off. There are only two possibilities. One, your app never goes viral, so it's dead on arrival, or your app goes super viral, like CryptoKitties. I don't know, maybe that's like very old, school. So
I remember that. Yeah, well, I'm old, so I remember everything.
So, either your app goes viral and then everything, is get congested, and then the fees went through the roof, and then nobody can use the chain. Imagine we are like, doing so-called Web2 apps, and then as long as any single app goes viral, no one else can transact. That's not how the so-called internet or Web 2.0 works, right? So I know it's a dead end. So I always look for something that's more scalable. I also got into EOS. That's so-called Web 2 web.
EOS, yes, I was into that as well. So, I was in
blockchain 3.0, and there's Ethereum Killer. I don't know if you still remember.
Oh yes.
My good old days. But then when I tried to build on something on there, but then you launch it to put it in market.
EOS was not like a completely stupid thing. It had some very good ideas in it.
Yes. I like the founder, I follow him for a long time.
Dan Larimer.
Yeah. He was in Steemage and also BitShells, a bunch of other projects, I follow. I like. But anyway, I was looking for some scalable solution, because if I want to, spend my personal time and energy into something, I want it to not to be short term, I want it to be something long term, even though it may take quite a while to reach there. But at the end, I feel, hey, maybe, I'm on the right path. Even I missed the, DeFi summer, I probably missed a lot of a pump, But hey, it seems people are getting back. Hey,
you're at the center of I think you're at the center of gravity right now. So like your moment has arrived. So it took a little longer than you probably thought, but
only 6 years. But people are catching up.
But that's sort of normal for startups, right? Like it's not really that odd in terms of startups. But I do think it's here now. I think the the launch of Fractal kind of changes the equation with Opcat enabled, which we didn't know that was going to happen at first initially, and so only as Fractal launch became more closer, did they decide to enable Opcat. That was kind of a surprise. Now the Fractal launch itself, some people think it was a flop. Other people think, it was great. I'm sort of in the middle. I think the price, obviously the price flopped. But I feel like the launch was successful. But more importantly, I think the launch of the CAT20 token was very successful. And I think the flipping on of Opcat itself was also a wise move and will ultimately be very successful. Let's talk about the CAT20 token standard for a second, because that was another surprise. That was, I don't think, in their original design for Fractal. They certainly didn't talk about it. It felt like something that somebody else did, and they reacted to it. What do you know about how that got born, and how important is the CAT20 token standard to sCrypt or sCrypt?
Yeah, so a little bit of a history. When we first started, we were working on some other let's say UTXO chains, and since the ordinals, we kind of looking back a little bit to the so-called BTC, the main mother chain, and we pivot a little bit. We get some minters, we have some rune support, but then since I think end of last year or early this year, we just found, hey, somehow this Opcat just all of a sudden just came into a spotlight, and then we did a lot of research. We were, when we first tried to do Opcat on BTC, we were expecting people already have a lot of tools and let's say sample code or even apps built on some, let's say, SIGNet. Yeah. But when we check it out, what we find is, why is everybody talking about it, but I don't see much or virtually no code or app out there. So that's why we said, hey.
So that's, I'm sorry, but that's exactly what was my thought too. So when I first heard that Opcat was enabled, my first thought was like, well, so is it actually possible to make an Ethereum EVM like smart contract, so you can make something like Aave or Uniswap as an Opcat app? And I didn't see any examples of that anywhere, even on other chains where Opcat has been enabled for years. And that was sort of, to me, a red flag that maybe it's just not possible for some reason that we don't know, even though theoretically it's possible, right? So is that what you're saying, basically?
Yeah, on BTC, definitely. So on other chains, we have experience, for example, Bitcoin SV and some other different forks. We have seen people play with, using sCrypt to build all kind of so-called, EVM-like dApps. But we just haven't seen anything even remotely close on, let's say, BTC. So then we put a lot of examples out there, Covenant, Vault. It's just basing all the the different ideas people have proposed using Opcat. We just make it think, hey, this is not just something, theoretical or some hype. It's something actually doable, and this is the sCrypt code you can play with. So we were kind of, expecting something coming, I would say, but we don't know exactly what's coming. So I wouldn't say it's total surprise, because a lot of attention has been brought to Fractal because of Opcat, right? I think some people may be passionate about, BRC20 or runes on Fractal. It's cheaper, faster, but I'm always saying, hey, you guys maybe pay more attention to the Opcat. Maybe something is coming, is cooking, somebody's cooking, So after that, it just, I would say it's almost like explosion of this CAT20 thing. I mean, this is I think the most viral use cases of sCrypt so far. So I'm really glad it, people just like it. I don't quite understand all the, the degen stuff, but, looks like people, hey, maybe they already compared to the old experience of using, runes or BRC20. But yeah, CAT20 is now,
it's the bomb. It's the bomb right now. Like that is the, that looks like it's going to be the dominant token standard on Fractal, from what I can tell. At least right now, it's what it looks like, right? Beyond and above BRC20s and runes. And I think, from what I understand, so first of all, the CAT20 token standard, did you first of all, Opcat must be enabled in order for the CAT20 token standard to exist. So the CAT20 standard cannot exist on Bitcoin proper today because Opcat's not enabled on Bitcoin proper, but it can exist on Fractal. And does it use sCrypt under the hood to exist? I'm not quite sure what the relationship is between CAT20 and sCrypt.
Yeah, so if you go to the official repo on GitHub, you can see there's different modules, but one of them is so-called the core functionality, which is the smart contract part. I think that's written in our language called sCrypt. I don't think you can do it any other way, I think, to be honest, because it's thousands of lines of code which compiles to, I don't know, 10,000 or if not more opcodes. I don't think you can easily do that with just Bell script. I think that's just very, powerful use, demonstration of, hey, why do you want to work with sCrypt, not just opcode itself? Because it's like almost like you want to program in some mobile games today, not using JavaScript or Rust. You want to use, x86, assembly. I mean, it's technically doable, but it's virtually impossible. Yeah.
Yeah, it would be insane. So, and most programmers today can't do. I mean, back when I first started, we actually did write an assembler, and pretty much all of us could write an assembler. Yeah. But these kids today, I swear to God, these kids,
JavaScript all the way.
They just don't learn. I mean, but they don't need to learn it. So it's sort of irrelevant to the modern world. But most, so there's very few people who could probably program down at that deep level, that close to the metal. So sCrypt was used to define the CAT20 token standard on Fractal, and when both of those things are only possible because the Opcat is enabled on Fractal. So you have this sort of confluence of things, sort of making a new thing bubble up that is only possible there. And so it looks like the CAT20 token standard will be the preferred standard for anyone using sCrypt on Fractal when they make things like Aave or Uniswap or Perpetual swaps or things like that. Is that your guess as well?
Yeah, I already see some preview. I don't know if you check today. If you go to, I think Fleur, that's created by Ordinals Wallet team. Today I put some review, preview. Harry, he just put out some screenshots about some kind of like on-chain marketplace. So this is definitely something, I've been super passionate about, and it's just something, people have already speculated, but it will be very, very bullish if we can see this in, live in action. Because always people, hey, we have been talking about, hey, Bitcoin is not only for payment, it's not only for tokens. You can do all kinds of, so-called turnkey smart contract. And people, of course, most people have, even the, proponent of Opcat, they're at least skeptical. I can see a little bit of, to be honest, from your timeline, I think I follow you a little bit. And at the beginning, I think you are also, I wouldn't say fading. I think it's at least on the fence, right? You're not sure, hey, this Opcat thing, maybe it's just good in theory, but hey, we may never see it. Maybe I see it in very, very long time. But I've seen the rapid progress, since I think only a little bit more than 2 weeks ago, and you see all kinds of things popping up. By this opcode, I hope more and more people, let's say, maybe shifting the opinion a little bit towards more, favoring Opcat, because once they can, have something tangible they can play with, connect a wallet, mint something, and trade, and the user experience is really superb, and it's actually better than let's say, some legacy token protocols. I hope there can be, convinced, hey, maybe this is good idea to, eventually have Opcat on, the proper chain.
Yeah, no, you were absolutely right to point out the fact that, I started off pretty skeptical, but I mean, I thought I think I had good reason to be. I just didn't know what the right approach to putting smart contracts on Fractal was, right? So there's another group of folks called Opnet, and their thesis is, let's rebuild the EVM on top of Bitcoin. That way, all EVM smart contracts work out of the box. Whereas, you're basically creating a new language, probably one that is more natural to Bitcoin and Opcat itself, but one in which there isn't a library of existing dApps and DeFi protocols. We're rebuilding those all from scratch, right? So, and I actually want to I'm going to read something from Francis Dune Uncensored, right? So we love Francis, but Francis did a pretty, I felt, honest and good thread this week, all about, how hard is it to build using Opcat, right? So he's building an Opcat app. His what is it? Sats Pump Fun on Fractal, and he says, it's both exciting and daunting. And I'm just going to read a little bit here. So he's basically talking about how, there's no marketplace, no trackers, no wallet support, no charting tools. There's no Open Zeppelin style library where you can download smart contracts to get a head start. So they're cooking from scratch. And he's like, it sounds like he's like, it's kind of harder than we thought it was going to be. And but we still think it's possible. We're still plugging forward. And he talks about one specific problem. And he says, for example, when trying to speed up a transaction on the CAT20 protocol, it's essential to recognize that each transaction is part of a specific chain. Therefore, accelerating a particular transaction requires also expediting all preceding pending transactions in that chain. I guess that's more of a CAT20 problem than an sCrypt problem, but it's still they're still all part of the same universe. So, So you must be aware of everyone who's building using sCrypt. What do you think are some of the more interesting apps that are cooking right now that you're aware of?
Yeah, sure. I try to get to know everyone who's either already using sCrypt or plan to use sCrypt in the apps. So I think a few things on my mind. Of course, first one we talk about this CAT20 on-chain, DEX, right? Because that's something people in general at least are skeptical. Hey, can we really do Ethereum stuff on Bitcoin?
And well, DotSwap has done like a really great job of doing a DEX. Like I'm just blown away every day with DotSwap, and it's very centralized. It's it's not ideal in some ways, but the user experience is A+, and the speed with which they add new features. They were the first people to add features for minting CAT, right? That was amazing.
Yeah. And they benefit a lot of it. So if you have, it's like what you just said. If you are at the edge of the cutting edge of some new technology, of course, it's going to be, let's say, not as easy as you would go some traditional route, just stay in the lane, right? Then the apps, you also have upside, right? So if you made this, in a user-friendly way, and maybe you are the first to the market, you are usually rewarded hugely, right? Like DotSwap, they are one of the pioneers, if not the fastest mover in this space. So, I mean, they probably earn a lot of fees when other, so-called, normies go to use Unisat wallet to mint on their platform. So same thing, here. A lot of projects, for example, Pump.Fun you just mentioned, and also the DEX, the marketplace, which hopefully soon, very soon, coming. And some people building wallets, some people build, marketplace. Of course, it's because it's something very new. It's going to take more time and effort, but you also have a huge upside here as well. Once you master this technology, and if we believe this is going to be the dominant, let's say, ways to do not only tokens, but also smart contract on Bitcoin-like chains. This is all by leveraging all this technology early on. Whatever opportunity comes next, or maybe somebody built Aave, or somebody has talked to me about some kind of stable coin, right? All this now are within reach. So it's not something we have to wait for Opcat reactivation or wait for some other devs to make some other tweaks. It's practical today, at least doable. Of course, it's always a little bit difficult when you are doing some trailblazing work, but usually you also reap what you sow, right? So and by the way, it's not totally from scratch. So we have been working on this for many years. So we also have Open Zeppelin like libraries. If you go to sCrypt GitHub, we have a lot of examples. I think hundreds, if not even thousands.
Wow!
Examples. So it's not totally you have to do from scratch, but of course, there's some difference between when we do on some other blockchains, Bitcoin Cash or Bitcoin SV, because they have full opcode. So and they have some difference, but a lot of time you can make this the existing contract, you can tweak them a little bit, and you can apply on Fractal today, and hopefully on BTC very soon. It's not entirely from scratch. I think we have a lot of libraries out there. How do you do, let's say, signature checking? How do you do, oracles, or how do you do, swaps? All kinds of examples out there. So for anybody who's watching, so definitely check out our GitHub. We have hundreds of examples out there, free to use, all open source.
That's amazing. So, okay, so I got to ask you, so how are you funding this? Because, if you've been basically operating on, doing this for 6-8 years, whatever it is, you haven't been making any revenue so far as I know. So, did you just hit it big early in crypto and you're just, doing this because you like it, or like, how has it been funded? How have it existed this long?
Yeah, I wish I was one of the, early whales who got almost BTC or Ether for free, and then I can bootstrap everything I have. But yeah, we are like very traditional, let's say, startup in terms of, let's say, funding or business model. We just got, VC funding. We have 2 rounds. And so since then, the good news is we have a lot of, let's say, people reach out to us to help them, develop, let's say, for our professional service. For example, the latest is this company called Stackware. So they are like
Starkware. Wow. Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
They're one of the biggest player in the Ethereum, maybe even in the crypto space. Valued at $8 billion. So they have been running this zero knowledge roll up on Ethereum, collecting all the big fees on Ethereum. But now they're also thinking about with Opcat, you can also do this on BTC, which is the biggest market cap chain. So they also want to migrate their whole full stack on us, on Bitcoin. So they, reach out to us, and we have some kind of a, collaboration. So, of course, we collect fees, from them and a bunch of other, projects who wants to migrate to Bitcoin, but they're just not sure how to do it exactly. So we're fortunate, as you just said, a lot of attention recently has, on this Opcat and on Bitcoin, and not many people know about how to do this. So we are one of the, let's say, teams who have been using this since almost forever. So quite a few projects reach out to us to say, hey, maybe we can consult with you to pay you some fees so you can help us to get at least the development started. Yeah. So that's why we have been, let's say, supporting ourselves. So hopefully more projects coming, we can make more revenues, but that's how we are, let's say, make ends meet right now.
That's amazing that Starkware kind of turned their head, after ignoring you guys for years. All of a sudden you're the pretty girl at the ball.
Oh,
and
yeah,
they're like, hey there, how you doing there, sCrypt? Right? All of a sudden, out of nowhere.
Yeah, it's like, I don't want to say it, but it feels like a little bit like a revenge of the nerds. We have been working this forever. We thought we were the cool kids. We were playing with the Satoshi's opcodes, but looks like everybody's on other, Ethereum or Solana wagon, having great parties, cocktail parties and yacht, champagne everywhere. I think, if the tech, I think we always believe that the Bitcoin, your particle, we're always betting on, hey, we think this is the most scalable and most programmable chain. If there's only one chain that's going to succeed, it will look like something like a Bitcoin, but of course with less constraint and full, capability like Opcat, Opmal, or even, even more transactions show up. So we're also betting on, hey, we believe this is the right technology. In the short term, we may suffer some losses, but hey, if you really believe in this Satoshi idea, you just have to have very, skin in the game and ready to play in the long term. And looks like that, I wouldn't say the tide is turning, but at least I feel that the other people are beginning to catch up. Hey, maybe Satoshi, just maybe this guy who created this industry, maybe his idea of how to scale blockchain or how to program, maybe it could be right, So we are betting on this. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with Ethereum. I mean, obviously, I've done many shows on Ethereum things, and I own a bunch of Ethereum or EVM things. And I like other stuff like Tau and BitTensor, and there's other things I play in. However, even for myself, the bulk of my wealth is Bitcoin, because you just can't beat proof of work. And I think eventually it's such a hedge against Earth's financial system, which looks more and more nightmarish every day. The fiat world, you just can't beat Bitcoin's gold-like features and proof of work. That is just undefeated in my view, and will remain so. So yeah, I'm kind of with you, and I'm actually very excited to see all these Ethereum-like things transplanted in some way. Well, not really transplanted, reimagined is a better way of thinking of it or saying it in the Bitcoin universe. And certainly Fractal for scaling Bitcoin in a very Bitcoinish way. I think that's a key development that we absolutely needed. It remains to be seen whether it'll get mass adoption, but I am hopeful that it's definitely one of the better entrants. There's other things. There's Stacks. There's Bitcoin Libre. There's other things, but I think Fractal is one of the more interesting of those things, possibly the most interesting. One of the things we haven't mentioned yet that I did want to talk about, CAT20, the standard. One of the reasons why it's so popular and everyone's so bullish on it is it doesn't require indexers in the same way BRC20s and runes do, right? So that whole sort of indexer-based world goes away. And instead, the miners keep track of who has what coins, what's deployed, what's minted, all that stuff. And I'm not quite sure exactly how that works, how the indexers were gotten rid of. But I do think that is a much better design. Because it is, more decentralized. Because people were complaining that the indexers took away from the decentralization that Bitcoin provided, right? Because the indexers could lie, and the indexers are a much smaller number of people, which are providing the source of truth for who has what coins. A lot of people didn't like that, including me, but it was sort of just how that world worked. But along comes this CAT20 thing, and all of a sudden those indexers are gone, and it's just back to miners. And in fact, some other parties that I've talked to are talking about, building full DeFi protocols which operate in much the same way, where the miners are sort of the center of gravity. And I don't totally understand how that's possible, but I get the idea is that, basically putting the miners back at the center of the universe is where they're going with their ideas. Do you understand that? Can you comment a little bit on how it is possible to put the workload back on the miners? Like, how does that work? Do you know?
Yeah, I think as far as I know, if you think about when I first got my developer interest back into BTC last year, it was because it's ordinal stuff, right? But then if you look at any other blockchain, Ethereum, Solana, every other chain, when they talk about tokens, right, either fungible or non-fungible, it's always contract, verified, smart, coding some kind of smart contract. It's not just putting some data there and then run some indexer on top to interpret all the token rules. I think Bitcoin is the only chain who do tokens, in this way, because there's no Opcat, there's no smart contract capabilities there. So I can think it almost like it's an intermediate step, because there's no Opcat. So that's probably as best as you can do without it. Yep. So once we have Opcat, the idea is almost the same with, let's say, ERC20 or ERC, 721. Nobody's on Ethereum is saying, hey, we should just put some metadata on Ethereum as a data availability layer and then run some indexer to interpret this. Nobody's saying that on any other blockchain, right? So I think once we have the smart contract capability, thanks to enabling of CAT, you can then put, ERC20 like logic on top of Bitcoin. That's the basic idea. Instead of trusting some, indexers, running some indexers, what you just said, it's not as trustworthy as just a miner, because miners, that's like the biggest consensus. Every one of us who owns Bitcoin, we trust a miner because they are pretty much the guardians of our, Bitcoins. And if we can trust them with Bitcoins, we can trust them with this CAT20 tokens because they effectively, they have the same security level, the same miners running all the code, and with all the proof of work behind it, they are securing your Bitcoin the same security level with the CAT20 tokens. I think there's some more technology involved, but the basic idea is before you don't have smart contract, pretty much. So you cannot do ERC20. But right now, because of the CAT, you can do like whatever Ethereum or Solana. That way, they launch issuing or transferring token. You can use the same technology, but put on Bitcoin. So you don't have to rely on any third party. I think that's one of the, if not the biggest appealing part of CAT20, because as we like the indexer. Some people like it, some people not like it, but it's always not as let's say reliable, trustworthy as miners, because it's just still it's all the, let's say, great features coming with Opcat because of the features. All the features are because it's not indexed by miners. For example, somebody make some changes. I think the official team, they change the minting rule. You can have arbitrary rule you can have, right? For example, you can have open mint, you can have closed mint, you can have proof of work mint. You can even have, hey, only you have this Fractal or as some other FT you can mint, right? You can define any rules you want. Or even you can even do on chain smart contract that takes all these CAT tokens, for example, marketplace or even RV like or Uniswap. So the basic idea is you don't have to go to ask for some permission from some other developer because they control the indexer. I mean, they're kind of decentralized, but still you need to ask for permission, right? Hey, Casey, can you change this rule? Or Domo, can you allow me to do proof of work? Then it all comes down to, let's say, I mean, I like these people, but you still, if it's somebody is in control, in general, we want to get, that's the whole point, right? For Bitcoin, to me, is always, get rid of.
Yeah, the indexers were always, I mean, it was a nice workaround for sort of generation one tokens on Bitcoin. But it's not ideal. It's not as good as what Ethereum does. And, the CAT20 thing, I think, is a big leap forward. And it is more Ethereum-like in a good way. And so I agree with you. But having the proof of work miners, Ethereum has proof of stake miners backing their smart contracts. And, as Lynn Alden says, and I've said, ultimately it's just a cabal of humans. So they could all collude and, screw all of us by changing the chain, right? If they decided, if they wanted to, right? Whereas proof of work, it basically makes that impossible. You'd have to have the hash power in addition to the collusion in order to screw all of us. And that's extremely unlikely given the proliferation of Bitcoin miners at this point. So,
and also the attackers are also screwing themselves because the reward they get is Bitcoin themselves. So they're pretty much shooting themselves in the foot. So, I mean, maybe some, I don't know, state actor or something, but it's at least economically,
it makes no sense economically. Yeah, no, totally agree. And they have to trade real energy for the Bitcoin. It's not just, with proof of stake, you don't have that cost of energy like you do in proof of work. So yeah, it's definitely a disincentive. So I did read up a little bit on the Starkware partnership, and I did see the announcement go through. I didn't really, I hadn't had a chance to look at it. I had jury duty this week, so I'm a little behind on my normal, the normal research I would do before one of these shows. Apologies for that.
And crypto is always like, it's almost like a relativity. One day in crypto is like, I don't know, 1 week or sometimes 1 month.
Yeah, it is like
regular
that.
Life.
It is.
It's
it is faster than any other industry. Yeah. So, but I did see that go sort of scroll by. And one of the notes I took as it went by is it said they were looking to make trustless cross-chain atomic swaps. That's like the target of the project that they're working on with you guys. That sounds sort of Thorchain like to my ears, probably achieved differently. But the basic idea is the same, where you go from, it's basically a DEX that goes, actually, that's not true. It's an atomic swap. So you're actually taking, so are there wrap tokens? I guess not, because you're swapping Ethereum for Bitcoin and Bitcoin for Ethereum on their native chains, just the gas tokens. Is that correct? Do I have that right or not?
I think, definitely you can swap let's say, or bridge the native coins, BT, Bitcoins on BTC and with Ether on Ethereum. I think what's more interesting to me is if you can also, let's say, bridge trustlessly about tokens on these different chains. Think about CAT20 tokens, right? Because it's a miner validated. I think it's possible to bridge it to some other chains which can also verify
other UTXO chains
and also account-based chains. As
really?
Yeah, because
interesting.
Essentially, what you are doing, let's say you lock up some CAT tokens on Fractal or maybe one day on BTC, and then the Ethereum chain or Solana chain, whatever chain that has full smart contract, they can verify, right, using some technology, Merkle proof. You can say, hey, I know these coins are actually locked up. They cannot just move, randomly. They lock up, so they mint equivalent tokens on on Ethereum, let's say, and then once they play with all kinds of dApps, staking, yielding, whatever they play with. So after they want to return back to Bitcoin, they can say, hey, I burn this wrap tokens. And then this contract on the Bitcoin side, they can check, right? Because now they have CAT. They can check what's happening on Ethereum side, saying, hey, this is actually burned. So these old coins that locked up, they can now move again,
Got it. Okay. So, and very interesting. So the other sort of thing I saw come across my my Twitter or my X, it was you or somebody else. I'm not sure who it was. Somebody was talking about stablecoins and bridging that using CAT20s. What is going on with stablecoins and sCrypt? And are you doing anything with Jack and NUSD or Hermetica or anyone else that you can talk about at this time?
Yeah, I think at this moment there's no. I think there's a project that, let's say, committed to bring stablecoins. But I know from Fractal official, they always talk about, hey, stablecoin. I think somebody asked Lorenzo. I'm pretty sure he answered this on some like tweets. He's saying, all the existing stablecoin player may feel Fractal is like too small at this moment to bring, USDT or USDC onto Fractal officially. But that doesn't mean other smaller teams couldn't bring their own, stablecoin solution. For example, bank or I don't know, somebody. At least one team I know is at least researching into how to have some kind of like arithmetic backed stablecoins with maybe FB or stake or even BTC stake. I think at this stage, I think definitely that teams are researching into this, but I'm just not sure when can we see this coming. But I think technically it's doable because on other blockchains, people already use sCrypt, similar smart contract to have some kind of like a stable coin on other chains. So what I said here is not only theories, or people already use sCrypt, on other blockchains to build all kinds of these things, stable coins, and also AMM, and also some kind of like a stable coin too. So I would imagine this can be coming, but I'm just not sure when they will. It's all doable, but I'm not sure when people can deliver this. Yeah, the tools are out there. Yeah, for anybody.
Yeah, well, I know sort of in the NUSD BAMP universe. That entire scheme relies upon a perpetual swap environment existing already, which it doesn't yet on Fractal. But I think now that sCrypt is here and on Fractal and we have CAT20 tokens, I think we have the ingredients for someone to make a perpetual swap environment so that the delta neutral positions can be created to back the synthetic dollar of NUSD. Do you know of anyone do you agree, first of all, that a perpetual swap is now possible? And do you know of anyone working on that? You don't think it's possible?
Yeah, definitely possible. For simple answer, if you ask, every single day people have come up to me and say, hey, is X, Y, Z possible with Opcat? In general, that's possible. It just takes some people to actually build it. I think I haven't looked into the specifics of, perpetual swaps on chain, but I think since it's Turing complete, right? In theory, it's all possible. I may have to talk to the bank team to see if they're already cooking. Yeah, sometimes they just, for us, the good thing is you don't have to ask our permission to build anything with our tool set. It's like the CAT20 thing. It's literally there's no indexer. We are not in the gatekeeper, so you can. So that's why I think I try to know of the project, but I don't know if the people they haven't reached out. And the good thing is they don't have to reach out. It's like all open source and free to use. I heard some whispers, saying the bank team is trying to do something on Fractal, but I'm not sure if they're using like a centralized solution or some kind of like on-chain DEX solution. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I did talk to Jack.
Maybe you could interview them next time. Ask them.
I'm actually interviewing Jack like in an hour, so I'm doing some back-to-back recording. So we'll get the story from Jack, who's the guy behind BAMP, right? So one of them. But yeah, no, and then we had a chat before he went out to Singapore, and I know he was at your meetup. So right, so and before he left, he talked to me about sort of a rethink of BAMP and how NUSD might work in a much more trustless, permissionless way. But that, from what I understood, it would require, somebody else is going to have to make the perp swap. That would not be BAMP. But BAMP would basically take if you had a position on a perpetual swap, you created on your own somehow the delta neutral position. He would then issue NUSD, or his protocol would issue NUSD against that delta neutral position. And that is, so therefore, like there is no team that has to go and buy Athena, right, to back the BAMP the way it works right now, right? He wants to sort of be, which I agree with him. He should be. Nothing here should require a centralized team to actually do anything. Interestingly enough, I saw an announcement from Athena last night that they were backing away from the delta neutral hedge backing position for USDE because they weren't seeing enough demand for it, and the feedback they got from their people, which are mostly Ethereum people, is that they want a stable coin like USDC or Tether, which is backed by fiat. Anything that's sort of algorithmic or, anything that smacks, I guess, of Luna, even if it's not Luna, but it's sort of kind of edging that direction. They're scared of it, right? And I disagree with that because I think the delta neutral hedge construction is actually quite solid. And it's very different. It's not Luna. It's materially different. It's not even in the same universe. But I think a lot of people still have jitters about just, anything that sort of feels like it. They're freaked out by. So they're basically doing a Tether alike in addition to USDE, and they will back USDE with that Tether alike if the funding rates become negative, right? So it is possible for funding rates to go negative, and there is a scenario under which that eats into the backing of the underlying. The delta neutral position can get eaten up by negative funding rates. Where the stablecoin is unbacked. That can happen. That is actually possible in that schematic. Extremely, extremely unlikely, and would not have happened in the 3 worst years of crypto, which were the years of the Luna and FTX collapse. Even then, the negative funding rate environment was not severe enough to unback a delta neutral hedged position back crypto. So. But whatever, the market has spoken. They're going that direction. But I think that opens up a wider playing field for NUSD to actually take advantage of that, them leaving the field. If he does the same thing on Bitcoin and backs it with delta neutral hedge Bitcoin and makes it permissionless and trustless, that might be an extremely powerful stablecoin. So I actually am more bullish, weirdly, because of that. So...
Yeah, I think those kind of things are more exciting than, let's say just pour some existing Ethereum DeFi apps into this because, it's just always possible, but somehow people still need time to build this. It will be really interesting to see this actually launch and see how the market reacts. I think it's back to the general idea of sCrypt. We just want to enable all this kind of experimentation. I don't have a crystal ball to say, hey, whether CAT20 is going to be more popular than, I don't know, BS20 or, runes or whatnot. It just gives people different ideas, and at least they now have the possibilities and have the option, have different ways of doing things. So, then let the users and the market decide. But at least we want to have people to have the different options. The more options, the merrier, and the best type of options. You don't have to ask for anybody's permission. Permissionless, so all the tinkers, experiment they can run. Yeah, that's how I see it, like a Fractal. It's almost, of course, you have some compatibility with BTC, but also it's like a testing ground. Whatever new features you want to bring. Hey, of course, BTC mainnet is always going to be conservative. That's almost like the value proposition, one of the biggest value proposition. So, but a lot of time you want to see if you want to bring some new features, right? Segway or Taproot. Hey, why not, play on this, still worthwhile chain, but still less risky chain on Fractal first, or some other similar chains. And then once everything is, played out, you can say, hey, maybe it's a good idea, or maybe it's a bad idea to add Opcat, back into BTC or any other future upgrades. Yeah. So that would definitely something I will keep an eye on Fractal. If the more, future upgrades that come into testing on this ground, that will be, interesting to watch. I think some people there, for whatever reason, I don't quite understand, is that was fading since the beginning. I just want to see more experiment.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
Worthwhile to have, instead of everybody debating on Twitter Spaces. Actually, see it play out. Opcat, for example.
So you say sCrypt is backed by venture capital funding. Have you announced who's backed you and how much you've raised?
Oh, not yet. I think we raised we're a small team. We try to keep it lean. So it's a lot of times just some angels. They really like what we're doing. So it's not big names. I hope as more people get hyped about Opcat, we can get some big checks from, let's say, more well-known,
Okay. So your door is open, shall we say.
Yeah.
You won't say no to a meeting, put it that way.
For sure.
So,
no.
And then where do you come from? Like, what is your background before this?
Oh, I'm like very typical computer guy. I've been studying computer science, since college, and then went to do my PhD in computer science. And coincidentally, I work on peer-to-peer networking in my PhD thesis. So that's why I got into the, Bitcoin, let's say, technology instead of the coin. I should have bought the coin, when I researched it back in 2013. But I don't understand any economic or monetary side of it. So that's why I think later on, when I graduated, I just joined Facebook as a research scientist there, doing more networking research there. Mm-hmm. But then I kind of feel like, hey, the crypto thing is very, let's say, mysterious to me. I always want to learn something new because it feels it's not only computer technology or network technology. So somehow it's the only technology I know I can run some algorithm in my garage. Looks like I feel like I'm, Federal Reserve. I'm printing money. It literally just changes electricity. It also gets the physics part of things, but also get into economic and monetary. So it's always something very, at least intellectually, very interesting because I want to understand. We talk about EOS, at the beginning of the show because he. Dan Larimer, he developed this thing called Steemit. So to me,
yeah, I remember Steemit.
It's my first entrant into crypto because I'm posting stuff. If people like it, somehow I can earn money. But looks like something. It's very interesting. It's very different from so-called Web 2. I think that's the, almost like a rabbit hole. Once you want to understand where does this monetary value come from, how is this double spending prevented or proof of work, delegated proof of stake. Once you get into almost like a rabbit hole. Once you're into it, it's very hard to. I'm still stuck in it after 6-7 years. Every single day, there's new ideas coming. I think that's what I wake up to be excited every single day. Just have new, interesting ideas and also experiments and also applications coming out. I think that's also what keeps me in this space, and probably for foreseeable future, you'll probably see me hang around. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm a lifer as well. I'm not going anywhere. Some people named Jason Calacanis have told me to pivot from crypto to AI.
He's always, of course, the AI. I mean,
well, we're all
it's
friends, and I just saw him last week at the All In Summit. But I think, I mean, he never got into crypto. I did in 2013. And I think, I mean, they're very different worlds. The sort of, the angel, Sand Hill Road world in which he lives and crypto, that they're both tech. And there are some people that are the same, but they're largely sort of different universes. But I'm like you. I kind of appreciate the ethos. This gives me a jolt of fun, just like it does you. Not that AI doesn't. I like AI also. It's also interesting, but I'm not an expert in AI, right? So I don't. It's less interesting, and I am an expert in DeFi and these things because I've had my head stuck in it for 10 years. Right.
So you're like me. You are not one of the guys. Just overnight, you have become from a Web3 influencer to starting the AI bro. Because of the bearish market.
No, I don't hop from
examples that. Yeah.
There's a lot of people that trend hop like that, and I if I think it's interesting, I will. But that's really for me the gate. It's not about the trend. So, and I do think crypto's best days are ahead of it. And I think the next 5 years are going to be insanely interesting. And I think AI and crypto are two sides of one coin, frankly. So the only type of coin an AI can own directly is crypto. So I think that I think that AI's robots will pay robots in crypto, right? Yeah. There'll be these sort of flowing microtransactions between them all. So I don't think crypto is going anywhere, and I think the rest of the world is ahead of the United States. Hopefully by 2025, that situation will have changed, but we'll have to see how that turns out. So, but thank you so much for taking some time to speak with us and tell us all about sCrypt, Xiaohui. Really appreciate your time. Is there anything else you want to plug or mention before we go?
Yeah, speaking of AI, I think that's another reason I think I keep working on so-called this, whatever, blockchain or Web3, whatever industry you call. I think it's as you said, it's probably like two sides of the same coin. On the one side, when I first got into crypto, I think I kind of like the idea of so-called decentralization or taking power from the centralized parties, because right now, since AI boom, I feel the trend is centralizing again, because if you want to have very good AI models, you need a lot of data and you need a lot of money to buy this, NVIDIA, GPU. So I kind of think it's like a counterbalancing force, because if there's only one AI and then everybody is using that, it's probably causing a lot of other issues. It's like a money supply, right? So if you only, a centralized party, it doesn't matter. These people have good intentions, best intentions, but it's just because they are the central player, that the only power. So they are almost cannot, almost couldn't be trusted. It doesn't matter who it is, even Elon Musk. So I think it's the Web3 idea. I think it's still appealing to a lot of people, because, it's kind of like taking the powers away, from centralized parties. So, I see the sCrypt or even Opcat, looks like smallish, but it's, if we think about the big picture, if you trust some indexers, or you want to put it the hands, of the miners, the mining network, so you don't have to trust anybody. I think this is almost like a counterbalancing force to me. So it's very, just take the powers and see, hey, of course you have these big companies doing their thing, but we also want to have grassroots, people like probably you and me, pretty small, but we want to do things different, just at least have the option. So hopefully this can, let's say, give the central players a little bit of a constraint when they're not able to do, anything, arbitrarily they want. For example, Twitter, right? They can ban everybody. They can ban everybody they want. Hey, what if you have some kind of Twitter bot is on Bitcoin? I mean, you have some different web UIs you can ban, but then that I can jump to another front end. I can access the same data. So it's always good to have these kind of options. Yeah.
Okay, Xiaohui, where can people find you and sCrypt online?
Yeah, just go to Twitter, sCrypt the platform. We can, you can find everything link out to our official, website and Telegram and Medium. If you are really into Bitcoin technology, we have, I think we have published since 2020 nonstop. I think we probably have 200 articles, all original. If you are a developer or entrepreneur, go
Holy
check out
crap.
ideas there. It's like, I think it's almost like a treasure trove. You can dig up some good old ideas from there, and you can build a business. It's all open source, and you can find all the implementation code on GitHub. So definitely, if you are, lastly, we have the Opcat builder group. So if you want to build with Opcat, so definitely join our Telegram, and we have 2,400 people already joined. I think only 2 months, less than 2 months. So definitely join us there. We can have brainstorms. We can find different business partners, or you want to find some dev to build our ideas. Yeah, definitely. I think that's the number one group, for Opcat builders to be. Yeah.
Well, congratulations on staying with the vision for 8 years and building up this massive library of stuff that people can now access. And congratulations on the good fortune of having the universe sort of align to bring into view Fractal and Opcat and CAT20 tokens. Your moment is here, and I congratulate you on the good fortune of just being the right thing at the right place at the right time. The stars have lined up. So congratulations on all that.
Thank you.
Xiaohui, thank you for your time. My name is Mark Jeffrey. This has been Hash Rate. We'll see you all next time.